Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into probably the biggest story in tech, maybe even the world, artificial intelligence. It is this incredible story of promise, of absolutely staggering investment, but also a whole new world of risk. So the big question is AI the future? Or is it a bubble just waiting to pop?
Okay, let's get right into it. The excitement, the hype around AI has just hit a fever pitch. And we're not just talking about some hot new product here. A lot of people are calling this a new gold rush, a really fundamental shift that's promising to reshape, well, our entire economy.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the unbelievable scale of what we're talking about. It's not about one little industry getting a shakeup. It's about every single one. The idea is that AI is going to become as basic as electricity, just woven into the very fabric of how every business runs. Now, get ready for the number behind all this hype, because it's almost hard to wrap your head around. Projections are showing that AI could add a whopping $15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. Now, to put that in perspective for you, that is more than the entire current GDP of China. So yeah, we are not talking about a little bit of growth. We are talking about a tidal wave of economic change. And you can literally see this gold rush happening in the money that's flying around right now. Investors are expected to pour $200 billion directly into AI by 2025 alone. You see, this isn't some distant promise. This is cold, hard cash being spent today to fuel this race for who gets to dominate. But, and this is the crucial question, with all of this money, all of this hype, what is actually happening on the ground? Well, for businesses that are trying to go from just playing around with AI to actually using it, the road has been, let's say, surprisingly bumpy. And here it is. This is the big reality check. A recent MIT study found that a huge chunk of companies, we're talking up to 95%, were seeing basically zero return on their generative AI investments. So the potential, it's there. But actually turning that potential into real-world dollars and cents, that's proving to be incredibly difficult. So, you've got this massive disconnect, right? On one side, you have the promise of this unbelievable growth. But on the other, you've got the reality of zero ROI and some major hurdles. And it's exactly this gap that's led people like OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, to warn that we might just be in a bubble, kind of like the dot-com boom. And you know, adoption is never a smooth, straight line upwards. Just take a look at Germany's digitalization index. After years of moving forward, it actually took a dip in 2023 before it started to climb again. It just goes to show you that real-world implementation, well, it happens in fits and starts. You hit roadblocks before you find a way through. So what are these roadblocks? Well, it turns out the problem for most companies isn't the shiny new AI model. Nope. It's the old, creaky foundations they're trying to build on. Things like bad data, ancient IT systems, and manual processes that just can't keep up. It's the classic case of garbage in, garbage out. But look, the challenges are not just about return on investment and messy data. As AI gets more and more powerful, a much darker problem is starting to emerge. How do we control it? The risks are now moving from corporate balance sheets to actual battlefields, creating a really dangerous new threat landscape. This is one of those new AI-specific threats. It's not about guessing a password. It's about actually manipulating the AI's logic. An attacker can hide instructions in what looks like a totally normal piece of text, and the AI will just follow them without the user even knowing, potentially leaking massive amounts of sensitive data. And prompt injection, that's just one piece of a much bigger, scarier puzzle called hybrid threats. This is where digital attacks are combined with actual physical sabotage and disinformation campaigns. The goal here is to create chaos, to create uncertainty, and to blur the lines between peace and war. And please, don't think for a second that this is some theoretical sci-fi stuff. In 2023, there were hundreds of unauthorized drone flights over German military sites. Critical undersea data cables have been targeted. Disinformation campaigns have spread fake news about major companies going bankrupt just to cause a panic. GPS signals are being spoofed, putting ships and planes in danger. This is happening right now. And the human side of these attacks is just as clever. State actors are reportedly recruiting what are called Wehrwerferagenten. That's German for disposable agents, often through apps like Telegram.
These are just untraceable people paid for single, high-risk jobs, which makes them brutally effective ghosts in the system. So, faced with this mix of financial risk and these really sophisticated new threats, how do we even move forward? Well, the answer isn't just to get a better firewall. It actually requires a complete rethinking of how we approach security altogether. The leading strategy for this is called zero trust. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's powerful. You get rid of that old castle and moat security idea, where you trust everything that's inside the walls. Instead, you just assume your network could already be compromised, and you verify every single interaction. So, it works on 3 basic principles. First, you are constantly verifying everyone and everything. Second, you grant only the absolute minimum access that's needed to do a job, and only for the shortest time possible. And third, you always operate as if you've already been breached, and you design your systems to contain the damage when, not if, it happens. So, with this new security mindset really starting to take hold, how does that change the bigger picture? Well, it seems like the entire philosophy of the AI gold rush is shifting away from speed at all costs to a much more cautious path forward. And you can see this new caution coming right from the very top. An overwhelming 98% of executives now say they are willing to sacrifice speed if it means delivering AI safely. It really feels like that old Silicon Valley motto of move fast and break things is finally giving way to something a little more mature, a little more measured.
And this brings us all the way back to our trillion-dollar question. The potential of AI is undeniable, but so are the risks. Everything from financial bubbles to hybrid warfare. As we keep developing this world-changing technology, the most important question we have to ask ourselves is this: are we building a better future, or are we just building a more complex and dangerous battlefield?